we have warned anyone who will listen about the dangerous path this state is on by voters. And it's the fault of voters. Make no mistake, voters, these lawmakers don't go to Olympia and just on their own accord without somebody sending them there. These are decisions that voters make in a democracy. And so waking up those voters to the danger of continuing to strengthen the Democratic majority in Olympia is incredibly important. And maybe I've been waiting for what will it be that tips the scales so people realize, look, they're out for themselves and their party, not for us. Maybe it will be the decision in the House of Democrats to repeal a 132-year-old rule that allowed the minority party to advocate on behalf of its constituents. This segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org and make sure you sign up for their newsletter for opportunities to do just that. So here's what happened. This is from our friends at the Center Square. Washington House Dems change 132-year-old rule requiring supermajority to end debates. Here's how they explain what happened. For 132 years, a rule has existed in the Washington State Legislature's House of Representatives requiring a supermajority to suspend debate on a bill that has come to the floor. Last week, House legislators voted 54-33 to alter that rule, so that now only a majority is required to end debate. Now, why make that change? Well, it's because Democrats don't have a supermajority yet. They do have a majority, though, a pretty strong majority. And so now when there is debate happening for the last 132 years, when there's debate happening, and somehow we've managed to get by with this just fine, when there's debate happening on a bill, when lawmakers from across the state that represent different areas, different counties, different cities want to stand up and share how that bill might impact their constituents, they were allowed to do so. But according to the Democratic majority, that's just a waste of time. They want to now, after 132 years, be able to end debate on a bill whenever they see fit. Here's Democratic Representative Joe Fitzgibbon.
Endless debates are not in the interest of the people that those legislatures represent. It's also the case in the U.S. House of Representatives that endless debate is not allowed. They're able to move expeditiously towards a vote, but still have very robust debates on the issues before that body.
It's not in the interest. It is not in your best interest for there to be, in the eyes of the Democratic Party, endless debates on the House floor. We can't do that. We can only listen to so much from the minority party. We can only listen to so much criticism of our bills that we're trying to push through. Endless debate doesn't serve anyone. Except the House rule for the last 132 years hasn't allowed for endless debate. In fact, as Representative Drew Stokesbury, who's the ranking Republican in the House, pointed out very eloquently on the floor, there are a lot of rules that already, prior to this for 132 years, prevented the minority party from just rambling on endlessly.
This is supposed to be the people's house. That means all people. That includes members of the majority and the minority. Unlike other chambers, members can't hold the floor for hours on end. We can speak for up to 3 minutes before cutoff. Unlike other chambers, members can't read the phone book. We can't read Charles Dickens. We have 3 minutes to speak to the topic of the bill or amendment before us. And this right to speech does not allow members to stop any of the things that the majority have the right to do. Under this new rule, there's no longer a guarantee that members would have the right to articulate their dissent. It wouldn't matter if they've not yet spoken on a measure or if they wanted to speak about the bill. The right to speak on this floor at all, if this resolution is adopted, would be subject to the whims and fancy of a bare majority. That's chilling, Madam Speaker, and it's sad. This rule change would mean that for 3 million Washingtonians that are represented by people on my side of the aisle, their elected representative may only speak on the floor of the House upon the sufferance of other members. That's not fair, Madam Speaker. That's not right. This is supposed to be the people's house. That means all people. That includes members of the majority and the minority. This rule change puts the convenience of the majority ahead of the rights of the minority. Today's a sad day for the institution, Madam Speaker. A chilling day for the 3 million Washingtonians whose elected voices can now be silenced at any time. I urge you to put this resolution down, to bring up a new rules package that respects dissenting views, respects all Washingtonians, and reflects this chamber's position as the people's house, not the house of certain people. Vote no.
And his logic there can't be argued with. Joe Fitzgibbon and Democrats want to say, well, look, we can't just have endless debate happening on the House floor. We have a lot of business to attend to. And so, we can't have every Republican who wants to stand up and just speak endlessly. They can't do that anyway. There's a time limit that each member has. They're not allowed to filibuster. They're not allowed to eat up time by standing up and talking about something completely unrelated to the bill. But yes, as the rules for the last 132 years have allowed for, if every member on the minority side, which isn't very many, it's not like it's the House of Representatives where you've got a 400-something person body. If every member wants to stand up and take their 3 minutes on a consequential bill and share, here's how this would impact the people in my district, the people I was sent here to represent. The Democratic Party does not want to allow them to do that. 3 million people, as Drew Stokesbury pointed out. The Democrats, or the Republicans in Olympia, in their districts, represent 3 million people in Washington. Yes, that's a minority, but 3 million people is still a lot of people of the 8 million people who call this state home. And what the Democrats can now do for the first time in 132 years is they can end debate and discussion on the floor. They can silence the representatives of those 3 million people and push through their bills without even having to hear dissent. They don't even want it to touch their ears. We've talked about all the ways that the Democratic Party has been consolidating power and then crushing dissent. They've crushed the referendum process. They've rendered it completely useless because they don't want any citizens running a referendum on any of their bills because they can do nothing wrong. They have tried and are continuing to try this session to crush the initiative process, which is one of the last remaining ways that we have to push back against the party in power. They have a bill this session that will make collecting signatures for initiatives nearly impossible, burdensome, prohibitive, because they don't want to hear any dissent. They don't want anyone to push back against what they're doing. It's not even, again, with 132 years, they might have had to sit there last session and listen to Republicans tell them why their bills are bad, tell them why their bills are dangerous, tell them why their bills shouldn't be passed, but they could still turn around and can today pass them. But what they're saying is they don't even want to sit through. They don't even want to sit through any debate, discussion, dissent on their ideas. They're turning the House chamber into an echo chamber in every sense of the word. And they said during this debate, well, we'll only use it. Don't worry. I mean, we're going to let you talk about bills. We're only going to use it if your members are just standing up and saying the same thing over and over and over. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Do you believe the only time they're going to use this is if Republicans are just standing up and saying the same thing over and over and just wasting time? No. The reason they're doing this is because they can. And if they are presented with an opportunity to consolidate power and to squash dissent, they've shown us they will take advantage of every single one of those opportunities. It's not enough to be in the majority. It's not enough to have the numbers to push through and pass any bill they desire. They have to do so without ever having a negative word about their policies touch their ears. It's one of the most disgusting and dangerous abuses of power I have seen in Olympia in 15 years. Maybe ever, but that's as far back as my knowledge of what they've done goes. It's really scary stuff. 123 years of precedent. Gone just like that. That segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. Make sure you sign up for their newsletter to be alerted to opportunities to do just that. And I'm sure Future 42 has a lot to say about what just happened in Olympia.